jury find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to the second count of the information, Richard McGinnis, we the jury find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to the third count of the information, unknown male, we the jury find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to the fourth count of the information, Anthony Huber, we the jury find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to the fifth count of the information, Gage Grosskreutz, we the jury find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty.
Good afternoon and greetings and welcome to everybody to the Rundown, the Friday edition, the Friedback Friday edition of the Rundown, where we promise to bring you conservative news and 2A views. My name is Mike Poworski. I will be your host today, but I do not do this program by myself.
No, sir, you do not. My name is Craig DeLuz. I am coming at you from the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras in California. I will be your co-host today, and it is a pleasure because, Friedback Friday has a little bit of an extra special meaning today, doesn't it, sir?
It's extra free today because because old Kyle Rittenhouse got him the verdict this afternoon about 1:30 Eastern time. And he is not guilty of all charges. So,
not guilty of all charges. I mean, here's the thing. It's not like we didn't know that. As one news commentator said, if you're confused by this verdict, you need to get a better news source.
Listen, there's a lot I would like to go over with this verdict and everything else. But before we do that, Craig, I want to ask you to go back to that tape for a second, if you could. It's after. The moment he starts to cry, but before he falls down, if we could get to about there, and I'll walk you up to it, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. There's another explosive bombshell about this trial that many didn't know that I want to point out, and I've kept it secret for a while as well.
I don't know if I can start it from in the middle there, but I'll go ahead and I'll start it. Do you want me to turn the volume on and off?
No, we don't need the volume. So we don't need
their volume. Okay, well,
yeah, we can continue to talk while we're doing this.
And you can go ahead and give the commentary.
All right, as you know, there we get the clerk, Madam Clerk, instructing them to read it. You see Kyle there. Now the verdicts are starting to come in, and the first two don't really shock him. Go ahead and pause it for a second, Craig.
I can't pause it.
Oh, okay.
Once it's running, it's running.
Oh, you can't pause it. Okay.
No.
All right. So if you look to the right of Kyle, there's a woman with her head down.
Yeah.
Okay. Now watch her just for a moment. Now, as asked if the third one comes in, her head comes up. Boom. Casey Anthony. Just like that.
What? Okay.
Casey Anthony.
That was Casey Anthony?
Casey Anthony, yes. So I don't know if anybody caught that during the trial that she's one of the court reporters there. So just pointing that out.
Okay, correct me. Who's Casey Anthony? And the name is familiar, but I don't know where I know it from.
Oh, the woman that killed her child in Florida and only got caught with lying to the police. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right, that is a bombshell. I did not. I'm like, why do I? I was feeling like really stupid. Like, I know I should know this name, or I know the name, but I'm like, I could not think about where I should know this name from.
And listen, in the interest of journalistic integrity, if that's not her, it kind of looks like her. So I'm just gonna say,
okay,
that. All right.
Where did you hear that was Casey Anthony?
From seeing her face, just from seeing her face.
Okay. All right. All right.
Just for sure. So those that are grabbing the phones right now and calling CNN and NBC, you can put it back down. So, Craig, I don't know if you noticed it. What I did want to point out there was, they read off all five of the verdicts, and the first two were for the named individuals, right? It was for the two that had been shot and killed, right? So those ones, you knew they were going to be guilty or not guilty. There was no, that was not guilty self-defense. The third one was against the anonymous man. The anonymous man being the flying kick dude. That's the one remember, that could have been a guilty. That was the one that was in doubt whether it was self-defense or not. So he got the first two verdicts and was, clearly not upset, right? that those were not guilty. But it wasn't until they read the third, and that was the most controversial one, because that charge of guilty there is still, 25 years in prison in Wisconsin. Right. So if he clears the first two, he probably clears the last two. It was that middle charge that he was worried about. And as soon as that happened is when the breakdown started. So Kyle knew which charge he had to get over.
Right.
I knew, and I don't know if anybody else caught it, when they first brought the jury back to the courthouse there, the courtroom, the judge said, as they were handing him the verdicts, or the verdict sheets, he said, "All one verdict?" And they said yes. And right then, and I think you could see it on the face of the one defense attorney, right then you knew he was not guilty on all counts.
Right.
Because there was no way it was going to be split, all guilty. We knew there was not going to be all guilty. Right. So as soon as he said all same verdict, and they said yes, I was like, done. That's it. The next 5 minutes,
based on the analysis you saw, why was that charge the hardest one to figure out?
Because that gentleman was 30, 40 yards away when he shot at him. So
the jump kick guy?
Yes, the guy was already away. He'd moved away. Remember? He was now fleeing. Right. Okay?
Right.
Everybody else was coming towards Kyle, chasing Kyle. That was
this guy had already jumped, kicked him, and he turned to shoot him, and the guy was already retreating. But
retreating.
Once again, he had already been kicked in the head.
Yes, he had been. He had been. Now that occurred, but that was the one where, how can it be self-defense if he's moving away? And what the defense argued is this wasn't 5 separate incidents. This was one fluid incident from start to finish.
Right. Well, one of the things that was interesting, and that actually leads us to the second part of our story, was there was a lot of the prosecution knew who this guy was, right? He admitted that he had kicked Kyle Rittenhouse. And the reason why they didn't do it was because they knew that this guy had a lengthy rap sheet, that he too was a convicted felon for domestic violence. And, that's one thing that I think that it's going to be interesting to see after this. The judge is still got to rule on some of these things. I don't know if he's going to give a mistrial, but he's got to take some actions based on the actions of the prosecution. The very fact that they withheld video, they sent them a grainy, like 480p video, like DVD quality video, when they had like 4K drone video. That could have made the difference in the case.
Right. Well, and listen, that's one of those things where the judge is not going to be able to prove. Here's how it works, Craig. I take a video here at on my cell phone, right, on my good old iPhone, and I go to send it to you, and it says, which quality do you want to send it? I want to send a top quality. Because no, it's too long. You want to send it medium or small? I'll send it medium. That's too long. You got to send it small. So I send it small quality. If I'm not a computer guy, Craig, do I know the difference between 10 megabytes and 40 megabytes, or 480p and 1080p? Do I know that difference? I think know.
If you are the prosecution utilizing video as a part of your evidence, and video as a part of your evidence, you have an obligation to turn it over to the defense or to the opponent. If you're the defense, or whichever it is, right. in whatever form you have it in, that's the form they should have it in.
I agree. But this again comes back to the procedural of the prosecutor turns to the intern and says, make sure you send them a copy of that. And he says, okay. And he sends them the copy that takes the least amount of time to upload. Who's at fault? Unless they find a prosecutor on tape saying, send him a crappy copy, that way they don't have good evidence, you're never going to prove it.
Well, if that had been the only thing that they got reprimanded for, I would agree with you. But then there was the withholding of the information about this particular individual, the potential victim. And we know why he didn't come forward initially, was because he knew that he was guilty of a crime, which was basically assault. Which I'm wondering if they're going to wind up charging him.
They also, because him being there meant he was in violation of his bond. At the time this occurred, Morris Freeland, now 39, is a career criminal, is a convicted felon. and he was out on bond for domestic battery when this occurred. Him being there at this location was in violation of his bond. So if he had come forward and turned himself in, he would have been putting himself back in jail as a career felon in violation of his bond. So he did not do so. The real challenge will be here, Craig, the real test to see if this is about justice, right? To see if this is correct. If now we go back and we charge Lefty Grosskreutz and Morris Freeland with the crimes that clearly Kyle Rittenhouse was not guilty of.
That is actually a very, very interesting point. It would be very interesting if they went back and they charged him, because they should. I mean, the fact is they assaulted him.
Listen, if Lefty is not guilty of pointing the gun at Kyle, I'm sorry, if Kyle's not guilty of a crime, well then the prima facie evidence is Lefty must have committed a crime against Kyle in order for him to have used self-defense.
Well, and that was part of the thing with this whole thing is people saying, well, if he hadn't been there and if he hadn't been there with an AR-15, none of this would have ever happened. I'm like,
no factor whatsoever. He was there legally. Here's what matters.
Whether or not you believe he should have been there or it was wise for him to be there or anything, doesn't matter. He had a right to be there just like everybody else was there, right? And he had a right to openly carry a firearm, just like other individuals were doing that night. It was all lawful. Here's the thing. This is what I would turn around and tell those individuals. If Rosenbaum hadn't basically threatened him and then attempted to physically attack him, he wouldn't have gotten shot. If Huber would not have hit him with a skateboard, he would not have gotten shot. If Lefty had not pointed a gun at him, guess what? He would not have gotten shot. All I'm saying is that everyone else, they're trying to say that he's guilty and it was all his fault simply because he was there. But here's the deal. He didn't attack anybody until he was attacked.
This is not the court of wise 17-year-old decisions.
No.
This is the court of it's a court of law. Okay.
Yes.
That's all. Was it legal for him to be there? Is the only thing allowed to be asked. And the only thing that the state thought they had was, well, he was not allowed to be in possession of that rifle. Well, evidently, and luckily, I guess for Kyle, there's some kind of anomaly in the Washington state law that says if you're 18, or excuse me, if you're 17, you can have a rifle as long as it's not a short-barreled rifle. So,
yeah, evidently because that's what they define as a dangerous weapon.
Yes. Yeah. So. So good on him. Craig, the other thing I noticed looking at all the talking heads before, because I had it on from the moment coverage started this morning, and all of the other, the agencies, whether it was CNN, MSNBC covering it, is how those media outlets play this as the race card. Now we know this was because of Jacob Blake got shot, for trying to run away from the police with the knife and the kids in the car and all that. We get that. We understand that. That case has been decided already. But just to make it even worse, every time they went to their commenters on their panels, everybody that was white said, this appears to be a case of self-defense. I see the evidence as this. And everybody that was black said, well, I'm sorry, there was one man from CNN, and I didn't get his name, an attorney out of New York. But every black woman that was there was, this is clearly he was the aggressor, and if it's anything else, that this is a travesty, and there's going to be problems, and it was so. I mean, like, hey, listen, we're looking for a commenter that's going to be against. Oh, and you must be black, by the way. We're not going to take any white on the opposition side. White's going to have to agree. Black's going to have to disagree.
Same exact thing on MSNBC. The exact same thing. There was one person, and it was a travesty, and it was all about white supremacy. And we need some white supremacists to know that they can go out and shoot people they don't like. And that was pretty much, and you heard that over and over again from some of these folks. And I will just say this. When it comes down to it, what I believe is the right to self-defense was definitely here. It was
Yeah.
definitely at the center of this case. I think, as we talked about yesterday, that we thought the jurors were basically making sure, because they knew that there was a chance that there could be some serious ramifications behind their decision. And so they wanted to make sure that they knew that they knew that they knew that they were making the right decision. And in the end, I believe they came back with the right decision.
Yeah. The only thing that I think I would have done differently, Craig, is at the end of this, as the defense counsel, once the charges have been not guilty, Your Honor, immediate motion to release the firearm into the custody of 18-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse.
Well, no, the only problem is it was straw purchased for him. That's a
He's
whole
18
nother
years
issue,
old.
by the way.
That's
The guy who bought it for him,
Yeah.
because he couldn't buy it there in that state. He
Right.
couldn't buy it in Wisconsin. Someone bought it for him. So that's
But
actually
Greg,
part of another case right now.
No, they haven't, because this prosecution team hasn't charged them. So it's his.
Well, no, he's not. Here's the thing: in a straw purchaser deal, you're not the one that is guilty. You are not guilty of a crime for receiving a firearm that was purchased via a straw purchaser, unless it's a conspiracy. Unless you can prove conspiracy. But if someone buys a firearm knowingly for someone else, that person is in trouble. The person who bought it is the one in trouble.
And I think they decided throughout this whole thing that all of those charges were nonsense because Kyle was allowed to possess the firearm.
Well,
So
I think the guy who the straw purchaser actually still had. I don't know if he's already dealt with this case, but his case is still. It's either still pending. He hasn't walked on it. The guy who bought the firearm.
All right. Well, I'll give it a rest. But week of Monday, I'm bringing this back up if I find out something else, because
All right.
that's what I've always wanted to see. That gets off, Your Honor. I believe this is mine, and take it and leave.
I'm with you. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's not always the case. In fact, I've seen instances where the state just will refuse to give people back their firearms.
Yes.
But yeah, I would definitely be like, thank you.
And I think this might have been the only shot for him to get it back with this judge, which is why I would have moved for it.
I would take it, cleared it, okay,
Yeah.
slung it over my shoulder and walked out.
Yep. The judge would have gone in his own pocket. Here's the 8 rounds you lost. I got some.
Nice. That is nice. Hey, Matthew Mallory, it's good to see you, sir. Welcome to the program. Good to have you on. Watching. All right. Well, let's. By the way, just in case you guys are wondering, the day was not full of good news. There was a travesty that did take place, and it took place in the House of Representatives, and it took place in the form of the passing of the Build Back Better legislation, the $1.7 billion that the New York Times acknowledges actually costs about $1.7 trillion bill that the New York Times admits actually costs $4 trillion, passed the House by the narrowest of measures. It passed by basically four vote difference. Now is on its way to the Senate, where it's unlikely to pass because by the way, in the House, every single Democrat but one, a Democrat from Maine, voted for it. And every Republican voted against it. And we already know in the Senate, every Republican is going to vote against it. And there are at least 2 senators on the Democratic side who have said that they are not going to support this legislation. So, and by the way, just so you know, folks, this is a bill that has nothing to do with infrastructure. It's all about spending about $4 trillion to make California, or to make the United States more like Venezuela.
Yes. This is what they want to do, right? This is what they want to take the control away from you. They want to make sure that you are more reliant upon them, and this is how that works. Craig, like I said, I know you said this. This is bad news, but again, this has got to get over the House, and I do not believe they are going to have the ability to go and take this with a 50 count. I do not believe they're going to get all 50 to take it. I believe there's going to be at least 2 or 3 dissensions in the Senate to prevent this. We know that if it's a 50-50 tie, that Kamala gets to take the vote, and you know what, Craig, that'd be maybe that's good for her that she actually could say she did something during her vice presidency. But we know it's not going to come to that. She's not going to even be able to hold the gavel. It will not get to that point. The votes will not be there for her. Not after we saw the filibuster going on the other night, even knowing that they were not going to win the House vote. We still had the 12-hour filibuster, which just shows the intent and the desire to keep this from passing. And that was done, I believe, for the sake of the Senate. So the Senate took notice of what was going on and how dedicated the Republican representatives were to keep this from passing.
Well, that was the big thing. And I think that Kevin McCarthy from California, the Republican leader in the House, he did that specifically because he wanted the morning news to be all about and focused on this bill being pushed through. And he wanted to make sure that people understood that it was only Democrats who were pushing this, right? He wanted to make sure that people understood that this was not a Republican thing. And I think he was successful, and they wanted to really people to think about the travesty that this bill is, because every poll that's out there tell you it's not popular. It is not a popular measure at all. And I'm sure, like with folks like our good friend, Mr. Patrick Collins out there, I'm sure that this is not a popular bill. Patrick, thank you for tuning in.
Yep, Craig, I am getting some other feedback. Keep us on split screen if you can, because there's some audio issues when you go to primary screen. So yeah, I agree with you 100% that, and it's good to see somebody like McCarthy. I guess we know he's the House Minority Leader, but I mean, listen, what kind of a feather in the cap is that for, those of you that are in California, knowing that you do have a staunch supporter, a hero of the Republican Party that is the House Minority Leader. So I think people forget that McCarthy is from California because everybody just assumes everybody from there is a Republican.
You mean everybody from here is a Democrat? They assume everybody from here is a Democrat?
Oh, yes. That's my mistake. Yeah, that everybody there is a Democrat and that there are no Republicans. So it's good to have McCarthy in there. And he's not. McCarthy's not one of them. He's not one of them West Coast Republicans either, where he still sees it some of the Democrat way. He's pretty hardcore.
Right. Well, just so you know, that there are more Republicans in the state of California than any other country, any other state in the nation.
Are we counting the illegal ones?
No, those are they would be Democrats.
They would be okay.
They would be if they're illegal, they're a Democrat. Just saying. Just saying. Hey, okay, let's move on to our next news item. The CNN is finally, first we saw the Washington Post backtrack on the Steele dossier.
Yes.
Now we're starting to see now CNN is now saying, yeah, there's some problems here with this Russian dossier. It's kind of been discredited. It's not really a real thing. It's kind of fake, as a matter of fact.
Kind of fake. Listen, when it was proven that it was created at the urging of the pantsuit wearing lion lady that would pass out every time she stood up, I think that should have been an indicator that there might have been some truth issues with the Steele dossier. Yes, that's right. I'm talking about Hillary. That's a problem. Listen, everything that we saw, everything that we saw from her was a lie. Do we have to go back to the email server? Do we have to go back to the BlackBerry? Do we have to go back to the computer? Do we have to go back to, I don't know, Whitewater? Do we have to go everywhere with this woman? All right. She was the one responsible for getting this dossier put out to try and discredit Trump. And it just goes to show the kind of dirty, evil woman she is. Listen, do I have any problem with a woman becoming a president? No. I think they'll screw it up. They'll screw it up just as much as a man will screw it up. It's just it was not time for lying grandma. That's not the party. Listen, women, if the only thing you want is a woman as president, just wait. The right one will come up. It's just it was not this woman, and this woman proved it with her creation and pushing of the Steele dossier.
Well, my question is that, are the folks over at the New York Times, CNN, and Washington Post, all those people who got all those, what's the word I'm looking for, all the Pulitzer Prizes, if they're going to give them back?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Okay, so Patrick is talking about we should mention the beverage of the day.
All right. I'll show him the beverage.
What is your beverage of the day?
My beverage today is this one, but they ain't writing no checks, so they ain't getting their name on there. So
There you go. See, that's the problem. Is as much as I enjoy. There you go. As much as I enjoy bourbon, yeah, mine is the bourbon with the ice. So bourbon is the drink of the day. Now, if you know a good bourbon that's interested in sponsoring the show, then they might get, they might get a shout out. But until that time comes, such will not be the case. Just saying.
I've got my radio show bourbon sponsor. I don't have a problem mentioning Boundary Oak Distillery. So we'll say our good friends at Boundary Oak Distillery. It looks like Chad's drinking coffee. Yeah, Chad, you better and make sure you keep your head down up there in Wisconsin tonight too. But the good news, Chad, is if you need help, I hear Kyle's available. So
he may be unarmed this time, no.
Oh, somebody will toss him a rifle. He'll be okay.
This kid, I'm gonna tell you what though, this kid's gonna be a millionaire because he's going to sue the pants off of the president of the United States, off MSNBC, CNN, and here's the thing. They're going to settle too, because the reason why they're going to settle is for the same reason they didn't do it. The same reason they settled with the Covington kid.
Yep.
Because they don't want to be brought out in court just how biased their reporting was.
Yeah. I watched I guess it's the Kyle's uncle. He was one that was bouncing around from network to network doing interviews about what Kyle's going to do. And the first thing he said what Kyle was going to do was go to college. And I thought, no, he might wait until the lawsuit's over. And then his college career is going to be like 4 years in Vegas, or something like those. He's not going to be able to live in anonymity. So might as well live at large.
Exactly. All right. Our parting shot for today is a fun one. You guys, first of all, you'll recognize you'll recognize both parts of the video because we've played both of them on here. But it's two different videos put into one. You'll know exactly what it is. But I think in the theme of, 2A News and Kyle Rittenhouse and the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict and all of that, I think that this is an appropriate video. What do you think, Mike? You think so?
I think this is apropos, sir.
It is definitely apropos. Here we go.
Him putting the fire extinguisher on the ground and then raising the gun.
Terrible gun safety.
And then raises his left hand to the gun.
That video was put together by the Firearms Policy Coalition. Phenomenal. That was hysterically funny.
That's how you clear a firearm, Big Willie style.
Well, and that's okay. So you guys probably remember the video that came out. He was on the set of I forget which movie it was. I think it was one of the Bad Boys 3. And one of the other actors or extras picked up the gun and flashed him. He knocks the gun away, takes it out of the guy's hand, clears it, and then puts it back.
Something this prosecutor and Alec Baldwin have never seen done before.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But it just goes to show just kind of some of the ignorance that's really, I'm looking forward to hearing if there are any sanctions or anything that is done to this prosecution, because they really went out. It seemed like they went way over the top and violated some very, very serious tenets of law in their prosecution of this kid. First of all, it's always funny to me when you hear all of these people say, well, the prosecution had a very, very difficult case. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe that's because he was actually innocent.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But I'll tell you, Craig, and I know you want to see these prosecutors admonished or some sort of discipline. It's just it's not going to happen. It's not how the court system works. It's not how lawyers work. It's a you remember the judge is a lawyer, the defense team's a lawyer, and the prosecution's are lawyers. So somebody can file a complaint with the State Bar Association. There'll be a review, and then there'll be no definitive proof, again, without the smoking gun, so to speak, the video evidence that shows them conspiring to do those things that would lead this to happen. So like I said, the big test for me will be now that Kyle is clearly by law not the aggressor. do they charge the others? This goes back to me, Craig, with the O.J. Simpson verdict. Once O.J. is found not guilty, did the police go back to looking for the real killer? Let's see what happens here.
Okay, interesting point. So, a couple of things. One, Patrick Collins points out that the guy who picked up the firearm and flashed Will Smith was actually a firearms handler. So he was actually someone who was supposed to know what they were doing. And then Kevin Sona comes in with a last minute comment, trying to steal the prize up from underneath everyone. Kyle Rittenhouse was just awarded Garbage Man of the Year for taking out the trash.
Oh, I didn't see that coming. I must have been sitting down low like Kevin. There it is at the bottom.
Yeah, it's over there. It's over there in Facebook, in the Facebookers.
Gotcha. So what do you think he does first, Craig? What does he do tonight? Now, I mean, listen, he's been out on bond. It's not like he's been sitting in jail. What do you think Kyle does? Is there a big celebration party? Do they have a private celebration party? Does he go have a Big Mac?
I think he is going to definitely. First of all, I don't think you're going to see him out anywhere. He's probably going to be at home with family and friends, celebrating that this is kind of behind him. I think that's the first thing. I think he's going to have a real hard time being out in public because there are enough people out there who are going to give him a hard time. I mean, dude, you know George Zimmerman. You know how hard. I mean, even though he was acquitted, how hard it is, how hard public life is going to be for this kid going forward.
Yeah, and I think Kyle might even have it a little bit easier than George did. George still lives in anonymity and it can never have a regular job ever again, anything like that. Because whereas, this was a white kid against some white aggressors that stemmed from a racist, not from a racist thing, from a police officer and a suspect that were of different races,
right.
Is what it stemmed from. This did not involve a different race during this. Well, evidently, but now it does with flying drop kick guy, right? So we'll see where that goes. I think Kyle is able to jump back in because whereas that was not the racial thing that everybody made it out to be. Clearly, George wasn't either.
George Lopez.
Yeah, no, you did not. You said George Zimmerman.
I said Zimmerman. Okay, I was like.
But George's was a white guy versus a black guy, so that will never, because no matter what the facts are, that will never settle from the brains of some people. George will always have that against him.
I will say this. I think if there was the level and the amount of video evidence in that case that there was in this case, it would be easier. Because if you can make right now they made a clear case. And the evidence showed that he was operating in self-defense. But if you have the video of him in that situation, I think it's in the court of public opinion. It would have made things easier for Mr. Zimmerman.
Okay, maybe in the court of public opinion, yeah, but in the court of law, remember, just if there was more video, we still wouldn't learn about the video until the trial. Right. And I'm not even sure that would make a difference because again, the same complaint against Kyle is the same complaint against George. They shouldn't have been there. Yeah,
but once again, like what I continue to say, the one of the things though was we had video from Rittenhouse within hours, if not days, if not hours. We had video that made it
because it was
self-defense
because it was a riot and everybody's walking around with their cameras now and then. When the incident occurred with George Zimmerman, that was one-on-one with him and Trayvon Martin.
Exactly. No, you're 100% correct, man. Don't disagree with you. Don't disagree with you at all on that. But in any case, time to move right along. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Oh, we need to pick a winner today, don't we? I'll let you go ahead and pick it.
Pick a winner today. All right. Can I pick you, Craig? Can I pick you?
No.
All right. I'm just trying to get some brownie points.
I appreciate that, though. I appreciate the sentiment, though.
I think for me, it's down to Chad or Matt. And I think you know what it's going to be for me. I think it's going to be Chad because he's he's got to go work in Wisconsin tonight.
All righty. Well, Chad, you are the
Yep.
man. You are him, Jim. So, hey, do us a favor. Hit us up on Facebook. Send us a message with your contact information, and we will send you your prize for today. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for commenting. Every single person who joined in on the comments, we always appreciate talking with you folks whenever we get a chance to. Hey, do us a favor, Mike. Make sure folks know who's paying the bills around here.
That's right. It's me and Craig and our good friends at Guerrilla Machining, Grid Defense, and the California Republican Assembly. So thanks to all of them and to all of you, and make sure all of you thank all of them.
Yep. Do me a favor. Just go to their websites. Their links are in the description of the video. Go there, visit them, tell them the guys over at the Rundown sent you. Also, please make sure if you have not already done so, go to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, go to our Facebook page. Like our Facebook page. And in both cases, make sure you hit that notification button. That way you'll be notified every single time that we go live. And you can participate in the live chat while the program is taking place. Because that's where the fun is at, man. The fun is in the chat. But we need you. Because we know, by the way, we know that the Webernet internet folks, they're trying to suppress us. They don't want people to hear what it is that you have to say or what it is that you want to talk about. So do us a favor, do that. And I encourage your friends to do the same. Have a happy weekend.
Yeah, what he said. Yeah.